What up, Gio? All right, we are going to upload week auras this morning because I'm a good boy and I said I'd do it. So let's get all the class week auras updated here. Export. Holy fuck, that's an export. All right, where I go? Log in. Why can I not log in? What's going on, Waggo? Hmm. Wife at work, son with grandparents ready to crush some WoW and 4-hour maintenance. Yeah, I tried to get on beta and it's down. Good news is I used my morning to go get a haircut. And that appears to have been a good choice of my time. Who the fuck is ringing my doorbell? Oh, hang on. Be right back. Okay. Cat snuck downstairs again, so you get to say hi to him again before I yeet him back upstairs. Say hello, cat. And you do one meow. Right into the microphone. Oh, Shauna's calling. Okay, we're going upstairs. All right. Am I in a conference call with the balance team? That's right. Does JB come from the love I have for Justin Bieber? Yes. And should Blizzard nerf verse buff from 3% to 2%? I think it's still too powerful for most raid buff standards. Yeah, definitely Mark seems like kind of the odd man out at this point in terms of power. Although, frankly, the Shaman buff is sneakily behind it because of the way that it changes based on which spec it's being given to. Like some specs, the 2% mastery is not doing much for them, but some specs it's like it's a big fucking deal. So I think the Shaman buff is going to end up being a bit of an under the radar sleeper for a while until people start realizing that the way that works is can be really big for certain specs. But you know, I was thinking about the raid buff thing and like why raid buffs have kind of gotten out of hand, and really I think it can honestly be, if nothing else, explained by the fact that the most powerful buffs right now in the game are all from int classes. And I don't mean raid buffs, I mean like buffs in general, where you have mage that brings lust and int, and then mage has historically been a really good recipient of power infusion. Who does power infusion come from? A shadow priest or a healer priest. And what does that class scale with? Int. And who buffs the shit out of a shadow priest and a mage together? Oh, what's that? An Ogvoker? What does Ogvoker scale with? Surely they must have, tried to get the primary stat back to being a, more in line with strength and agi users, right? There's no way they'd put another int user that's a big buff. Oh, wow. Og scales with int too? That's fucking crazy. If they had just made Ogvoker, I think, be an agi or strength user instead of an int user, I think it would have done a lot to prevent the meta that we had throughout last season, or last 2 or 3 seasons, I guess. But the fact that all these specs that buff each other are all int specs is kind of a big deal. I think it's something that I haven't heard talked about that much. The fact that they are all int users, that all these buffing specs are int users. And that's why they all pair together so well. And I'm gonna spit this out there without having given it much thought ahead of time, but just for the sake of discussion, would WoW be able to handle getting rid of primary stat as like a separate thing? Like instead of there being int and strength and agi, what if you just had primary stat and there was no delineation of int and agi and strength? Like, it's homogenization, sure, but is it meaningful homogenization? Does anybody give a fuck that they're an agi or int or strength? Like, I don't know that feels like it adds anything to the game. But yeah. Is that a philosophical question? I mean, sort of. Like, it's one of those things where Hold on, by the way, just while I'm thinking about it, why does my tooltip suddenly have a bunch of fucking pictures on it? It has a picture of a troll and a picture of your spec. I don't like that. What's doing that? That's probably Wind Tools, right? Wind Tools, why are you adding shit to my tooltip? Spec icon, no. No. Enhance LVY Mythic Plus info with more details. Probably no. Item level will be shown. Will it, though? What buff could Blizzard give DKs? Well, as far as Blizzard's concerned, they already get, like, they treat grip as a raid buff. And now you can feel free to disagree with them on that. But they have been, I think, very upfront about the fact that they consider, like, grip and healthstones and gateway to be quasi-raid buffs. I don't think DKs necessarily feel like they are raid buffs. But it is true that there have been fights where grip got DK invited. And if you try to do the fight without a DK, you were like, what the fuck are we doing? Now, it's not every fight. It's not even like every other fight. It's definitely not Mythic Plus. But there is something to be said for grip or gateway, like those types of things being pivotal for certain fights. That it is literally night and day trying to do that fight with a grip and without a grip. But hard to say that replaces a raid buff. Rogues have rogues have venom, and they have like mind numbing poison, which it's another thing that, like, does it jump off the page? No, but do you sometimes notice it when you're playing with them? Like, yeah, occasionally it's nice. Does it really matter what boss class bring when they just turn the boss health up when we do too much damage? Well, yeah, because it's determining which classes you bring. Now, what's interesting, in my opinion, is this raid buff nerf, raid buff nerf, was targeted clearly at like Mythic Plus. I don't think anybody thought Int buff and Chaos brand were like too important in raid, because all the raid buffs, like, you're basically just required to bring all the raid buffs in raid, so it didn't really matter how they were tuned. This was clearly aimed at keys, but what's kind of funny is I don't know that casters or that melee needed any help in raid necessarily in that respect. There were already a bunch of tiers where you were only bringing one mage and it was strictly for the Int buff, only bringing one DH only for the Chaos brand buff, and a lot of tiers where I don't remember, what was the last tier we had where we stacked casters? If we go back and look at the last few World First kills, I'm curious now. I remember there being in like BFA, there was, I think, in like Battle for Dazar'alor, I remember there being a shitload of like Moonkins and Shadow Priests, I think. But let's see here. If we look at raids, Amir Drasil. Fuck. Oh, this is Awakened. Okay, whoops. Amir Drasil. This is Awakened again, God damn it! Stop showing me fucking Awakened. Alright, so... We had, 2 Havocs, a Feral, 2 Rogues, 2 Enhanced Shamans, Fury Warrior, a couple Augs, a couple BM Hunters, which is like... I don't even know that I consider BM Hunter to be ranged. I mean, oh, well, it's range. You wouldn't call it a caster, I guess I should say. And then you had your like two casters in the raid. You had a fucking Arcane Mage, you had a Demo Lock, Fiend. Everybody else melee. And Aberrus, we have 1 Havoc, 1 Windwalker, 1 Ret, 1 Rogue, 1 Enhanced Shaman, 1 Arms Warrior. And we did have a couple Boomkins. Wait, why the fuck is Zalia listed as Boomkin here? Is this Awakened again? Motherfucker! I was like, this comp seems weird as hell. I don't remember this being the comp for Aberrus. Okay, so here we had 2 DKs, Havoc, Rogue, Enhance, a couple Warriors, 1 Boomkin, 1 Evoker. This was notably before AUG existed. Then a couple Mages, couple Locks. So actually a decent balance here. What'd you have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7... 7 melee. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 range. Windwalker and raid equals. I was actually just thinking, I was like, man, there was a Windwalker on fucking Aberrus. And then Vault. What do we have here? 1 DK, 2 Havocs, Windwalker, 2 Rogues, Enhance, Warrior. Yeah, I mean, this slanted slightly towards melee. Still decent, but... But when was the last time we actually, like, stuffed a bunch of ranged into the raid? What was Sepulcher? This was 1, 2, 3. See, like triple fucking warrior. Nah, this was quite a few ranged as well. Triple Boomkin, triple Lock, and 1 mage. But you also had triple warrior. So definitely a bunch of locks, a bunch of shamans, but also like a bunch of warriors. Is the raid buff nerf a big deal? For raid, I don't know that it changes much for raid. For keys, yes. That's the kind of nerf that when you pair them together, if it had been just Arcane Int getting nerfed, if it had been just Chaos Brand getting nerfed, it would have been one thing. But when you put the two of those nerfs together, then the amount of DPS loss for casters will be notable. It will be absolutely the kind of loss to DPS that could flip some of the like leaderboards for who's doing the most damage. What was Red Aura before it was removed? It was 5% damage and healing for... What was it? 5% damage and healing for like 10 seconds, and it could proc like every 30 seconds or something. Does it nerf AUG? Yes. It nerfs AUG because AUG is all magic damage. and so it's Chaos Brand nerf for AUG, and AUG is an int class, so an int nerf is a nerf to AUG as well. And a healing nerf, yeah. It's a nerf to every healer. Every healer's throughput. Giga Disc nerf, yeah. Disc took it in the fucking shorts on this one, because not only is the int buff a nerf to their direct healing spells, but then Chaos Brand caused a nerf to their throughput on Atonement, because now their damage spells are going to be hitting less hard on enemies affected by Chaos Brand. So not only was their primary stat reduced, but then the source of all of their Atonement healing gets nerfed if they had a DH in the group. What are we betting on now? I don't know. And like, this is the kind of thing about that question of like, what are we betting on? It's like, why would you bet on anything right now? Blizzard just showed that fucking 2 days before early launch, they're willing to slice raid buffs from 5% to 3%. That's a pretty massive shift in meta discussions, and they were willing to just rip that fucker right before launch. So I like, if anything, to me, what this signals is, don't try to guess the fucking meta right now. Like, don't even attempt to do it, because Blizzard, from 1 week to the next, they'll fuck that shit up. So, as per usual, my advice would be, if you want to make sure you're playing FOTM, you got to have a lot of irons in the fire. You just got to make sure that you've got like a wide net cast, and just be prepared to like jump depending on Blizzard's mood. But if you're trying to like go all in on one spec right now with a high degree of confidence that spec's going to be meta, that's not possible. Like, there is nothing that should make you feel comfortable about picking one spec. Never guessed meta till day before season 1. Realistically, even that is, you know, a lot of times the meta doesn't begin to resolve until months into the season. There may be stuff that people bring early season, but a lot of times it doesn't matter, because the keys you're doing aren't really that high level. Like, people are just slamming keys for gear. A lot of people are progging raids, so whoever's actually on the top of the leaderboard is like a team that's not going to be there in a month. They just happen to be one of the few teams that actually has a bunch of people that give a fuck about Raider IO score and aren't raiding all day. So I would say, realistically, until like as an example, in season 2 of Dragonflight, obviously AUG was introduced, and that dropped a fucking nuke on the meta at the time. And Holy Pally there were a bunch of classes that got reworked in 10.15 that all became meta overnight. Guardian Druid, Holy Pally, Fire Mage, Shadow Priest, and the introduction of AUG. Basically, every one of those specs was nerfed, or buffed in 10.15, and then they all just came out fucking swinging. But even before that, like, Holy Paladin was starting to become meta, and a lot of people, I think, missed that. That at the start of that season, everybody was playing Resto Shaman because it had gotten buffed massively at the end of season 1. And a few people were playing Holy Paladin, but it was mostly being discussed. Like, Paladin was being discussed as a who's up next kind of thing because people saw the buffs that were coming in 10.1.5 and they're like, oh my god, Paladin's going to be insane. But what people I don't think appreciated was Paladin was already really fucking good, but nobody was like really going in on it yet. And I'm not sure that Paladin would have become nearly as adopted had it not gotten buffed in 10.1.5. But you already saw several guys that were playing Paladin to a really high level, like Zalia was on that bandwagon really early in that season. He was playing Paladin before the buffs and was already slamming some of the highest keys in the world on Paladin, but nobody was predicting that shit at the beginning of the season. And then nobody was like, oh, play Paladin right now. It's already really good. People were like, oh, in 10.1.5, Paladin's going to be really good. But that's the kind of thing that a lot of times it doesn't become obvious what's good until people start playing it partway through the season and you start seeing teams have success with it and then people start copying that. But there's a lot of specs that they'll be capable of shit. Like Resto Druid, for instance, in Season 3. Nothing really changed about Resto Druid from the beginning to the end of that season. But it slowly became obvious that like people were going to play Resto Druid in all their meta comps. And it was competing, like, in fact, I think it was a little bit behind early season. It was behind like Disc and Mistweaver slightly in terms of representation. And then as the season went along and the meta started to kind of firm up, it became clear that like, nah, Resto Druid just has the advantage between being able to go balance, between having the raid buff over Mistweaver, and the better kind of burst healing profile compared to Disc. And it was just slowly but surely as people played it, it became clear that, yeah, Druid's probably the best. But it took a while to do that. It took a while for people to come to that conclusion. There was a lot of teams playing different shit. So trying to guess the meta is a fool's errand. Nobody can do it. If you made everybody write down their predictions of what the meta was going to be at the beginning of a season, and then compared that to what the meta actually ended up being, people are going to be right like 30% of the time, maybe. Is beta down? Yeah. Or at least it was when I checked it. Let me see. Servers were down when I checked it, when I logged in. Maybe they've come back up since. No realms are currently available. What am I going to main? Don't know. I am intending to roll a bunch of different healers. All healers, I think. My tentative plan for War Within at this point, excuse me. So, early release is Thursday at 6 o'clock my time. So my plan is get a good night's sleep Wednesday, wait around till 6 o'clock on Thursday. When 6 o'clock hits, we level our first character, which will probably be Druid, because it has the best eye level among all my characters at the moment. Probably play until I hit 80. Like level till I hit 80, which I don't think will take more than maybe like 7 hours. So hopefully finish up by like 1 or 2 in the morning. Go to bed, get up Friday, sit down, begin leveling my next character. With the int buff, what the fuck? With the XP buff and the now warmed up kind of route, now that I've done the now that I've done one run through, all of it should be fresh in my memory. So between XP buff and a better idea of what I'm doing, hopefully each successive character goes faster. XP buff, yeah. So there's I don't know if the achievement's in the game yet. What would it be called? I earned it on beta. I don't remember what it's called, but there's a buff you get in War Within where for every character that you hit level 80 on, you gain 5% more XP gained for all of your other characters, up to a maximum of 25%. So after you leveled your 5th character, you won't get any more of a buff. But for each character up to your 5th character done, you will go 5% additively faster each time. So first character will have 0%, second character will have 5, third will have 10, fourth will have 15, fifth will have 20. So ideally, then we go get Druid finish Thursday night, wake up, sit down Friday, level probably at least one character, since I don't think it's going to take me all day to do one character, but probably at least one character, maybe get partway through a second. Saturday, finish up. So this would be start the day with like my 3rd character, probably finish that, try to maybe get done with the 4th character, and then Sunday and Monday try to finish up 5th and 6th characters. And then hopefully by Monday or Tuesday, we have all 6 healers leveled, and we can just kind of get weekly stuff cleaned up on like Tuesday. And then the reset is on Wednesday because I'm in EU. And then starting Wednesday, we should have all of our healers leveled up and just start going through and knocking out weekly shit on each one of them, and probably start doing Heroic Dungeon on the characters that I'm intending to play more of, which at this point I think will be Druid. My guild has asked me to have Paladin ready to go because Paladin's looking like it'll be pretty strong for raid. So probably Druid, Paladin, and then 3rd character, I'm not sure. If I have my own, if I get to choose what I want, what I want to play for my 3rd character, we're supposed to have 3 characters ready for raid. If I get to choose what I want to play for my 3rd character, I'll probably lean towards Shaman or Evoker for Mythic Plus. I don't think it'll be Priest because we already have a couple guys in raid that'll be maining Priest. So, and Priest isn't looking like it's going to be super meta in Mythic Plus. So probably not Priest, probably not Mistweaver. But the 4 characters I'd probably be looking at, wanting to make sure I have a good understanding and good gear on, would be Druid, Paladin, Evoker, and Shaman. So hopefully we can use this week to start getting those characters geared up. And then we got a couple weeks of shit until we get raid launch on the 11th, and then Mythic on the 18th. So should have plenty of time, I think, to kind of get characters ready. Any very rare items I think will be essential for a night on the town with a cutie like me? Is that like an actual question? Like, do I think any of the very rare items are going to be big, or? A link to a good gearing guide? Well, there's this Google Doc, which has been updated every tier, basically, for the last few expansions. That gives you a good idea of, or that's a pretty comprehensive guide for what to do when the expansion starts. It has a little bit of everything in it. But there is a section in it that gives you an idea of how to make your own decisions when it comes to gearing. The tab, let me open it up real quick. Encountered an error. Please try reloading or coming back in a few minutes. No. There we go. Okay. So there's a bunch of tabs up here, but there's a flowchart that the guide gives you, which I think is fairly useful for these things. Well, first we'll go. There's a loot overview, which tells you what eye level everything drops, so you can kind of look here and see the eye level, and then when these things are available. But you see early access, the things you can get would be, let's see, it would be, oh, wait, how the fuck does this work? I think this is telling you that you can get 587 shit from Tier 3 delves in early access. But, like, LFR won't be open. Will it? No, there's no... So, this is what I don't understand. It says early access, LFR, but you can't actually do LFR. Right? What the hell? Like, well, I don't understand why that's there. Just giving context for how good the gear is. But why is it sorted by dates? Based on the tracks, not the timeline? This is confusing at the very least. But it looks like... I guess maybe what I would take from this track, if this is... if this part's accurate, is to say the best gear you can get in early access is 590. The best gear you can get on true release date is 593. Then starting on the first reset, you can start farming up to 619 gear, I guess, if you fully upgrade it. Or something. I don't know, whatever. But then there's a flowchart that I think is pretty handy to give you an idea of when you should consider upgrading a piece. And so it'll ask you some questions. Does it use Weathered Harbinger crests? Yes, then don't upgrade it. And does it use Carved Harbinger crests? If the answer is yes, then it asks, can you upgrade all slots 610 using your current? If the answer is yes, upgrade now, blah, blah, blah. So it basically runs you through a decision-making tree for whether something is, like, worth upgrading right now or whether you should hold off. So that's useful, I think, as a heuristic to kind of guide you on whether you should be using your crest to upgrade a piece at a given time. And then it's got a little tab on what eye level stuff drops at and what that can be upgraded to. Then there's a list of loot or some shit. I don't know. Let's see. This one's easier to read. All right, let's check it out. All right, so early access dungeons. 554 can't be upgraded. Min Soul Sigil 2 crafted. I don't even know what the... Oh, is this crafted gear? I guess. All right, then T3 Delves drop 571 gear. Yeah, no matter... No, even if this isn't upgraded, or even if this is like a better indication of what drops, it's still fucking confusing. But yeah, this is kind of handy, I guess, down here. The best outcome for your Great Vaults based on date. So the August 27th reset, the best thing you could get from your vault would be 593 gear from Heroic Dungeons. Same for September 3rd. Best you could get would be 593 Heroic gear. Then starting September 10th, you'll be able to earn 616 gear by doing level 8 to 13 delves. And then from the 17th onward, then you get your full vault. You can get stuff from Mythic Raid or dungeons. Is vault that early? I think the vault starts. I don't think there's one for the early access week, but starting from, because the 27th would be. So let's see. Early access is here. Oh no, I guess it is. There is one for. Damn, there's actually a vault on the first week. I mean, I don't know how good the gear is going to be, but. Or from Delves. Maybe that means the week is the week you do the thing. Well, let's check. So September 17th. Yeah, okay, that's what that means. Because this is when Mythic launches. So this would be the weeks. So this is saying the week starting this date. So starting August 27th, you could do Heroic Dungeons that would give you 593. Okay, so no vault. The first reset. That reset that happens like the day after launch. But yeah, until we get access to Mythic Dungeons, I think the best gear you can get will be from Delves. End of run gear. Because the Heroic Dungeons will award 567 gear, but Delves will get 571. Okay. We'll maybe bookmark that. Let's see. Have they filled out any of these tabs? Yeah, they have. I don't think these were here last time I looked. Or I guess they've filled out some of them. Let's go. We've got a leveling guide for professions. Is there something for herbing? No. Rip. Skinning, mining. Okay, so they don't have anything for any of the gathering professions, it looks like. First week is just chilling and leveling. Yeah, am I happy about the fact that they did early access as a sort of a general idea? No. But I do like them releasing the expansion on like a Thursday instead of a Monday. That makes it way more relaxed for getting your... Now, I also will say I don't know that there's anything that's super important to get done before the first reset. There has been stuff in other expansions where there would be a thing that you could do weekly, and if you could finish your character before the first reset, so if you could slam it in the first like 12 hours, you could go do that weekly thing once before the first reset, which is a shitty way, I think, to start the expansion, feeling like you're under the gun to try to level one character as fast as you fucking can to do a weekly event. So I like when early access is launching. I just wish that it wasn't early access. But it is nice to know that you have multiple days to get all this shit done instead of it being condensed into a very small window right when the launch happens. All right. Is Wago working yet? No. Wago, why you not work? Think it's good there's two different launch dates. Maybe it will even the load on the servers. Yeah, maybe. It just feels bad that it's gated behind spending money. And I say that as somebody who didn't spend any money on it because Blizzard gave me a free Epic Edition that got me into early access. So it's not even any actual skin off my back, but it feels bad that if you want to do the early access, you got to pay extra for that privilege. But yeah, I mean, I guess if you frame it that way of saying this is an attempt to load balance, and the way we'll do that is if you give a shit, give us money and you can get in line earlier, and if you don't give a shit, that's fine, don't pay us and you'll get in later. And that way we prioritize the people that care. They get in earlier and they have a cleaner experience because there's less people. And then if you're one of the people that got in late, it's probably because it didn't really matter to you when you started leveling. Play with the pores and have a shit experience with the servers. I don't know how many people are going to be doing early access versus normal launch. Feels bad you have to pay extra money to participate on the actual launch date. Yeah, I mean, I don't, I mean, if you're trying to break it up so that people are playing at different times, I don't know that there's a better way to do it than to basically say, like, if you care, you'll give us money. That seems like the fairest way to do it, other than just literally do like a lottery of, like, you know, you get to play on Thursday, you get to play on Friday, you get to play on Saturday, which would make everybody go fucking crazy. Mythic Plus that far off kind of sucks though. Yeah, except that I've seen the state of the dungeons at the moment, and I'm not sure that I want to be slamming Mythic Plus that soon. Maybe let them have a bit more time to cook that shit. Because there's still some fucking problems in those dungeons. One idea was starting out as Bard support class. Yeah, I mean, stuff like Bard has been talked about. And I think there was some optimism that we would get stuff like that when AUG came out. Because I think the thought about AUG was that AUG was like a test case. And they were kind of feeling it out with AUG. And then if that was successful, they would begin to introduce more support classes. To me, the most surprising part about the AUG release was that I felt like it had to have. There were like two true outcomes to the AUG-Voker experiment. One was AUG was a success, we liked it, and therefore we will make more support classes. Or they would try AUG, come to the conclusion that it didn't work, the support just isn't a thing that can exist in WoW, and they would like rework AUG into a more traditional DPS spec, and they would just shelve the support experiment. What I did not anticipate was them essentially saying we think AUG was a success and we're going to keep it the way it is, but we're also not introducing any new support classes in the near term. That, I think, was a very weird decision, because if you think AUG is a good idea and you're going to keep it, then there needs to be other support alternatives. It can't be the only fucking support spec in the game. That's a very odd result. And for better or worse, I think if you were going to keep AUG, if you're going to say we think support specs were a success, then you needed to be ready to introduce more support specs. This expansion. Like, that needed to be a thing that they... I'm not saying they had to have like a fully hashed out lineup of support specs. I'm not saying they had to roll out like fucking 8 different support specs, but there needed to be at least something, like 1 or 2 new support specs to where there's competition for that AUG spot. Because right now it's just like, do you think support is a necessary addition to your Mythic Plus team or your raid team? If the answer is yes, there is one fucking spec that fits there. There is, if you feel like support is a necessary thing, you have to bring in AUG Evoker. And that's not healthy for the game. And I think they should have been prepared to have more support roles ready to go. And to sort of challenge AUG's spot there. Maybe they don't feel like they need to create more because it's taking the spot of a DPS. Either way, though, there should be more support specs. Like I said, to me, the only 2 reasonable results of AUG-Voker were that you decided support didn't work and you just stopped right there. And you said, okay, we're done trying to make support happen. Or you say support was ready. Like we think it's a good idea, strong addition to the game. We're going to make more of them. Limiting it to 1, not good. Like, that's not... You needed to be prepared to have more ready. If you were going to go this hard on the experiment, if you were willing to shake up what WoW is this much, 20 years into the game, if you're willing to, like, create this much sort of chaos in the meta, then you gotta be willing to like run that shit out to the conclusion, which is if you think one support is good, then you must think multiple supports are better. How do I get 155 FPS in Valdrakken? A Ryzen 7800 X3D. That shit's all about your CPU. Hashtag ad? Not even a hashtag ad. We're just a, what the hell do they call it? A tech evangelist? And Zero Shadows. Yeah, it's also optimized settings. I have the CPU intensive settings turned down as well. But primarily it's a CPU thing. Processor is nuts. Yeah, the X3D stuff is the Vcache is so good for WoW. That's like its sweet spot. It's like what Vcache was invented to handle well. And I'm anxiously awaiting the 9800 X3D. I think so far people have been a little underwhelmed with the new 9000 series from AMD, but I'm holding my breath that they've managed to do something more impressive with the X3D chips. 9K is a skip IMO. Yeah, I mean, if you already had a 7000 series, it doesn't, especially if you already had a 7800 X3D, there's nothing about the 9000 series chips that would make me want to swap out. I'm hoping that they've managed to do something. The one thing about the 7000 X3D chips was they were fairly heavily voltage limited because the way they stacked the Vcache on the chip meant that they couldn't let it get too hot, and the IHS on those 7000 series chips was not the greatest, I think, at transferring heat because they wanted to make it backwards compatible with the older socket. So they had to make the IHS like thicker so that you didn't have to swap out coolers. You could use like an older cooler with it, which I appreciate, trying to be mindful of the consumer and reduce e-waste and shit. But it meant IHS was a bit less good at heat distribution. And so those chips couldn't clock up very high. Their frequency was pretty heavily throttled compared to the non-X3D variants. And so I'm hoping they've done something that allows them to better regulate the temperature on the chips and be able to boost the clocks higher in this generation. Hasn't Threadripper been Undisputed King for a while now? I mean, maybe in terms of like total workload, but for game performance, no. It's the Threadripper just has a shitload of cores on it, but its single thread performance isn't anything notable. Talking about the 7000 series, they said it's yeah, the non X3D chips, yeah, but the X3D chips, They like those don't even get up to 95C. One of the biggest wastes of money in my life was I bought a 360 millimeter AIO because I wasn't sure what CPU I was getting, so I just bought a honky fucking liquid cooler for it, and then I bought the X3D chip, and like I'm pretty sure you could put ice cubes on it and it would cool it effectively. That thing just does not output any heat at all. Because it's I think it's only allowed to go up to like 65 watts or just something insanely low. So it just generates no heat. Definitely never hits 95 Celsius. I think even when I'm maxing it out, it's doing like fucking mid 60s or something. Yeah, they just they you can't push their clocks high enough to actually make them hot enough to thermally limit themselves. And there were some people that I know there was people that were doing some shit with the X3D chips where they were modifying like the BIOS to allow them to overclock it, and you just didn't get much more performance by letting it get hotter. What GPU? We're using a 4090 on this rig. What graphic settings? Oh yeah. This reminds me. Somebody was we were going through graphic settings a few days ago, and somebody was telling me about the render scale thing. How you can set it. I mean, I knew about this, but you could set it lower and then set your resample sharpness, and you could basically render the game almost exactly 100%, but it would apply the sharpening filter and clean up the game a little bit. And I tried it, and it seemed okay, but I realized it introduced a bug for me where if I set it used to be the past couple patches, if you set your render scale at anything other than 100%, it would just tank your FPS. And they've apparently fixed that, which is good. But I've encountered a new bug where my FPS is decent, but if I open up my character screen, my FPS plummets. And I don't know why. I don't know what it is that's causing that to happen. It may be an add-on, but I don't know what add-on. Because, yeah, it's like, it fucking craters when I open my character screen. And I think, let's see, my bags are okay. I don't know if there's any other menus I can open up that similarly fuck my FPS, but... Don't like view distance 10? On my druid, well, I guess because I play druid quite a bit, I found that when I play melee healers, I don't like being zoomed all the way out because it's harder to keep track of where your character is in relation to enemies. If I was playing like priest or shaman all the time, I would probably stay fully zoomed out. But when I play characters that need to be in melee range, then being really zoomed out is, I find, not great for figuring out where I should be standing. You have a friend that plays almost fully zoomed in. Like I said, if I played Melee, I would probably be even, like, if I was exclusively Melee, I'd probably be even more zoomed in than I am now. Link to what I was looking at? Yeah, it's this. Man, I'm so ready for, like, I'm normally not. I normally don't get excited about new expansion launches. Usually I get really fucking anxious about new expansion launches. It just stresses me out. But for whatever reason, for this expansion, I am so ready to be done with Dragonflight. And I just want to, I want to start leveling. Which I can't believe I'm saying that. Like, it's very out of character for me, but I just want to log in and level. Why did I stop doing MDI? Well, the team I was playing with kind of dissolved. And then I just had trouble finding a new team. And then, partly it's just been harder for me to make the time for it. I'm now at a point in my life where I have more responsibilities. I have a wife, I have kids. It's a lot harder to come up with the time to set aside for WoW esports like that. How long have they been charging extra to play early? This is the first time. Alts for his kids, can't level both. Well, luckily my kids are at the age where they are kind of fucked off during the day. So we should be able to make it work. But it's the problem with MDI is it's constant for like a month and a half. And then the fucked up thing is it used to be worse than that. Like MDI used to be an even bigger time commitment than that. It used to be you were locked in for like 3 months or something. They had like a full-on season before global finals. I'm trying to remember what it was like back in BFA. I remember one of those seasons was like fucked. I think we had 4 different cups. And each cup was like, what the fuck was it? It was like we had like 4 different cups. And they were like 2 weeks apart. And then there were time trials before each cup. So it was like you would, like, the season started, you did a time trial for a week, with, it was like I think it was like 2 dungeons for time trials. So you would do a time trial for each cup. So you'd have the time trial, they'd have the results, like the top 8 teams. Those 8 teams would play in the cup the next weekend. Then you would have time trials for the second cup. And then the top 8 teams from that time trial would play in the second cup. Then I think there was like a 1-week break in the middle of the season. Then you had time trials cup, time trials cup. And then after that, which was like 8 full weeks of practice. There was like 2 full fucking months of non-stop practicing between time trials and cups. There was like no time off there. And then there was like a month-long break, and then we had globals or something like that. And that shit was woof. But even now, having to set aside, because like right now the format is you have like time trials, then I think this last time they did 2 or 3 groups. So it's a lot easier now in terms of like required time, because you just have to do the time trials, then your one group, and then globals. The problem is everybody's going to practice all in between that anyway. No matter how much time is like required for it, unless you literally disable Tournament Realm access for all the teams in between their stated competition days, everyone's going to be on Tournament Realm practicing nonstop anyway. So in reality, even though you're only competing for time trials, one group, and then globals, you're going to be practicing all in between that shit anyway. And if you don't put in like 12-hour days during that practice, you're never going to do anything. Your team will never accomplish anything, which is what basically broke up my last team. Is we got done with the last season in Shadowlands, and it was pretty obvious that we were just done because there was no appetite to practice. You know, it used to be our practice hours would be start at maybe like 10 or 11 in the morning and then play until probably like 11 or 12 at night. And we'd take like maybe a 1-hour break for dinner. But it was like 12-hour days. And then in that season, we started doing practice days that were like maybe started at like 11 o'clock. And then when it came time to take our break for dinner, which would be around like 6 or 7 in the evening, we'd just be done. So we went from doing like 12-hour days to like maybe 7 or 8-hour days, which sounds like a lot still, you know, like 7 or 8 hours sounds like a lot. But when you're giving up 50% more practice time, then your results are just going to correspondingly plummet along with that. And so it was really obvious that if there was no desire to put in the time to practice, we might as well just stop, because what's the fucking point? Like, if you're not going to practice, then you're not going to do well. And if you're not going to do well, then why are we even here? And so that was when we called it. So if you're going to do MDI, you got to be prepared to like live it during that season. And it's just hard to make that kind of commitment when you've got anything else in life going on. There's a reason when you look at the dudes that do MDI, almost to a man, these are people that have like no responsibility in life. And I don't mean that in a judgmental way. It's just that's kind of table stakes for doing WoW esports. You have to be somebody that can just sit in your basement and play WoW for 12 hours a day for like a month at a time. If there are people relying on you, if there are people that are going to require your presence for things, it's really fucking hard to do MDI. That's not just WoW, it's any professional esports. Yeah, I mean, WoW's not unique in that regard. But it's also, I think WoW also scales practice like you scale with practice better in WoW than you do with a lot of other esports. Which isn't to say that you don't benefit from practice in other esports, but specifically for PvE content where the outcomes are like predictable and consistent, being able to go in there and practice is especially valuable because you can, like, that repetition is, it'd be like if FPS games, your targets were always in the same spot every time in a particular match, and you could just go into the dungeon and just practice moving your mouse here, 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 and then the competition would just be dudes zoning into the game, just going just mouse flicking, boom, 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 boom. Look at that, I'm done. Like, I've practiced this so many times that I could do it blindfolded. But for most esports titles, there's a different team that you're having to react to, and so you can practice and you can get comfortable with, like, if they do this, we do this, or if we're gonna do this, we need to be prepared to, run this route. Pop smokes here, whatever. But you're always having to react to like something different. Whereas in World of Warcraft, in a dungeon, you are trying to practice to the point where there's nothing different each run. You know exactly what you're going to see, and it's all very predictable and consistent. And every pull that you do, you've practiced it 50 times, and you know exactly, like, this guy's going to cast this, we kick it, and then we like use a in-cap roar when the next set of casts happen, and then we pop CDs here, we lust here, and it just becomes this big rehearsed sort of dance. And being able to practice in that sort of a competition is insanely valuable. All right, let's see here. What do we got for hot fixes to dungeons? Wowhead. Additional checkpoint and increased count requirements. Okay. Let's see. Grimbatol added a checkpoint after General Umbris is defeated. I'm assuming that's first boss. That's good. This run back was like the 9/11 of run backs, because it was all indoors, so you couldn't mount up, and the distance that you had to run was like insane. If you died in the second boss room before killing the second boss, you would spend like a minute running back to the pull. It was awful. Okay. Ms. Tredova consumption channel duration increased. So does that just mean he's going to tick more? Because this spell already sucks ass. This is a bitch to heal through. Does that just mean it's going to channel even longer? Imagine the channel is longer, but damage is more spread out. That would be nice. Weren't you able to kick consumption? Yeah, so consumption is the boss shields himself, and then you have to damage him enough to break the shield before you can kick the spell. So if this means that it's the same amount of damage, but over a longer channel, that's good. If this just means that it's doing the same damage per second, but there's the opportunity for it to channel longer, that's bad. So we'll have to see which one of those things is the case. All right, Necrotic Wake enemy forces required has been increased. That's probably fine. That dungeon's timer was like insanely free compared to other dungeons. Javelin initial damage, periodic damage reduced. That seemed predictable. And right now, I think teams are just holding this for third boss because he's a nightmare. So the question is, how much of a nerf was this? Gatekeeper, summon Patchwork Soldier's health reduced. This might be okay. Right now, Gatekeeper is just like a mob you never want to pull because the hassle of having to kill his soldiers on top of him doing his big AoE, it just makes him not worth the count at all. So you would do whatever you could to avoid pulling him. So if this makes him a more attractive mob to pull, that could be good. Blightbag's Disgusting Guts no longer damages creatures. I don't even know what that means. I guess maybe these things were doing damage to other enemies. And then Brittlebone Warrior and Mage's Health. These are, I think, the ads that get summoned by Necromancers. Or these might be second boss ads. Or maybe both. I'm not sure. Second boss? Okay. That's probably okay. Like, that's probably a good change. This was probably one of those things where as the boss scaled up in health, higher and higher, it just became harder and harder to kill them before the explosion went off. All right. So that's probably a good change. Siege enemy forces increased. Honestly, I don't even think people are going to notice this because I had started to realize every time we ran Siege, we were like finishing count before we got into the third boss room without even trying to like pull extra shit. Like even when you're just trying to like walk through the dungeon and only pull the things that are in front of you, you ended up with like 100% count before you even got to the third boss room. So I don't even know that people are going to notice this increase. Let's see. So first boss of Arakara, Gossamer Onslaught damage reduced. That's probably good. This boss was a little scary. Starved Crawler's health reduced. I assume this is ads on first boss, so should make it a little easier to kill them before they reach the boss. Dawnbreaker enemy forces required increased. This dungeon was a little weird in how little you had to pull. You basically like cleared the trash up to the first boat, did the boss, dropped down, cleared everything around the church, and then killed the mini bosses, and you were like done. So there, you really only, it felt like this dungeon, you really only pulled bosses and mini bosses, and that was like it. So yeah, I'm not surprised that they increase enemy forces here. Let's see. Ixcretin now spawns inside the Church of the Sacred Flame. So for anybody that's unaware of why that's notable, it used to be that this boss spawned close to another pack of mobs, and if you weren't careful, you could pull the mini boss with the other pack, and that was usually not good because both that boss and the pack did like AoE damage, so it quickly got out of hand. Reduced total number of creatures spawning around the entrance to the Church of Sacred Flame. Same idea there, I think. It's just too cluttered. So I think they're just trying to give you more room to move around without accidentally pulling other packs. Anubikaj, Shadow Decay's damage reduced. Okay, this was another one of the damaging abilities that was very rough to heal through. So that nerf is a welcome one. And Rashanan, reduced pacing of abilities in phase 2. This was, yeah, that's also good. It started to get really fucking annoying in phase 2 because it just felt like there's something happening all the time. It's either the poison wave or somebody dropping the webs or the acid damage coming out, and it just felt like a non-stop cycling of those things. And then the Spinneret initial and periodic damage reduced, another probably good change because those Spinnerets were fucking blasting people when they'd get them. It became hard to top someone off after they got the AoE and keep them at full health for when the spinneret exploded, which also did like 80% of your health. Okay. Well, I think these are mostly good changes. This one, the consumption one, jury's out on what this means. This could be either good or bad. Checkpoints, just very nice. Enemy forces in Necrotic Wake's fine. Javelin damage, the only way this will matter is if third boss becomes like unkillable now, because Javelin's not doing enough work. Otherwise, the rest of these changes seem good. I don't even think you'll notice needing more forces in Siege. And then these are basically all nerfs to the dungeons from here on out. How much was Shadow Decay nerfed? I don't know. It doesn't say. Maybe Wowhead will do some data mining. Okay, let me real quick. I need to remember to pack some pills for one of the kids I need to bring. So let me go set those out so I don't forget that before we leave. I'll be right back. Okay. Did I try out Matthew's thriving germ build yet? No. I have no, it's one of those things where even if that shit's good, you would just play a different healer. He did like 70,000 overall damage with that build, which is just like that's not the path to being meta. So what I am a bit curious to see if there's something, if he can take the interactions that he saw with thriving and symbiotic blooms that was causing the really big thriving rejuves, if there's some way to expand on that for dungeon healing, but not by spamming the fuck out of rejuve all the time. So let's see. Invisibility potions no longer share cooldown with combat potions. But it's now a 10-minute CD. I was gonna say, I think that's I don't think that's new. But I think it's a good change in the sense that I don't think you were using that many invisibility potions in a dungeon anyway. So this probably isn't. I doubt there's a point where you're like, fuck, man, I really wanted to use invisibility potions 5 minutes apart. And now you can just send it without. Vickman, thank you for the host, bud. I saw you playing Guardian Druid yesterday. I think that is about all that anybody needs to know about the state of Resto Druid. What's that juice? It's just flavored water. Grape flavored water, but it's very dark. I don't know why. Yeah, I'm trying to think of the times in a dungeon where you even want to invis one time in like the current season. Where was oh shit. Hold on, let me go get my trading post. How the fuck? Oh, it's because I did all the pre-patch stuff, wasn't it? Dude, normally I have to like panic at the end of a month every time to get my trading post done, but I guess with the pre-patch event, I probably slammed the hell out of it. Did I start playing Wildstalker a lot yet? No, not really. I got kind of sidetracked with the Keeper build. Is that a cloak? Huh. Wildstalker's pretty fun. Yeah, I did a few Wildstalker keys. I mean, I like it. But it was also, what I don't like about Wildstalker is how much time I needed to spend in cat form to feel like it was worth it. And if you're not playing with a group that's good about, I was playing with guildies a lot. They weren't necessarily super well versed in the dungeons, and needing to rely on people to get stops and stuff so you can sit in cat form is kind of annoying. Okay, what did I get from the... So we got that cloak, and is that the... Where's the... Okay.
Tis a good day for a bit of buying. Come back again.
What happened to remix characters? I don't know. The tweet last night from WoW customer service was a little weird because it said that Mop Remix was ending last night, but then the calendar said it was ending today on EU. So I don't know what the yeah, like it looks like Mop Remix is still a thing for now. So also, why is this not a rested area? I don't understand. Quest add-on for launch. I'm going to be using Rested XP because somebody hooked me up with their module for free. Oh, dude, did Questionably Epic finally do their Oh shit, yeah. Hang on. All right, we got Season 1 raid trinket post. All right. Treacherous transmitter, C+. Okay. Ah, nice. So now we've begun referring to... Oh, dude, I thought this was Volk making a section for fucking Mythic Plus. And it was the mini games. And I was like, bro, did you really have to call Mythic Plus mini games? And then I realized that it's actually the trinket that has mini games on it. So all right. When you press Treacherous Transmitter, you get one of 3 mini games that you have to complete to get your massive intellect buff. Here are the possibilities. One is that you have to jump 3 times. One is you have to stand in a portal for 1.5 seconds. And The other one is you have to chase down an orb. Oh, that sounds sick. Niche at best. All right, then Creeping Coagulum is a B plus. Tooltip makes it fairly obvious, but the healing you use to feed the trinket is deducted and lost. You pay 900k healing to charge it to full. The overhealing DPS portion is confusing and potentially bugged. Good. It's a strong 1-2 combo. Confusing and may not work correctly. It actually stores a value based on raw overhealing the trinket did instead of its overhealing percentage, like Rashox did in Dragonflight. The 88k on the tooltip can be misleading since typical values will be 250k plus, and if you crit, it'll double again. So numbers wise, if you deduct the redirected healing, then each use of the trinket is worth about 2.2 million healing. This averages out to about 25k HPS. You can expect it to do 2% or so of your healing on a late heroic or early mythic raid boss. It'll do a little better in lower difficulty content. It's worth noting some of the healing it redirects would have been overhealing anyway. Verdict is buggy but underwhelming. Says DPS wise, the trinket does okay while it's bugged, not game changing, but an acceptable bonus. If the value is ever fixed and approaches the 88k tooltip value, then it starts to become unnoticeable. Seems better than any other trinket. Well, there's the bugged one at the moment, Mercurial Egg, where it just doesn't ever give you a penalty for stacking it all the way up. So this stat stick is actually worth like 4,000 int or something if you just let it go all the way. Okay, dude, I can already tell this track's going to be annoying as fuck. Jesus Christ, man. All right, so Gruesome Syringe. Charges of the trinket can overlap, and so can stacks of the int buff. So if charge A expires 10 seconds into the fight and charge B expires 10 seconds later, you will have 2 int buffs for 5 seconds. If 50% of your charges become an int buff and half healed, then you're looking at around 2.4k int and 15k HPS. These are honestly very reasonable totals and compare fine with other trinkets. Having the intellect active when you need it is another matter. So basically, the conclusion is it's a clunky trinket. Let's see, Mercurial Egg. So it looks like it's good, but also potentially annoying. Spymaster's Web. F for Mistweaver, A for everyone else. Why the fuck is this an F for Mistweaver? Oh, because they can't proc the damaging spells part of it. Unlucky. All right. Now, the catch with Spy Masters will be that I suspect that when it says A for everyone else, what it means by everyone else is not just all other healers. I imagine this is going to mean all other fucking DPS specs, all caster DPS specs that are good with mastery. I think this will be a sought after trinket for like a lot of people in raid, which means as a healer, good fucking luck, idiot. Now, maybe our savior limit maximum has managed to get casters shoved far enough down the totem pole with his raid buff nerfs that maybe we'll only bring like 2 casters to the raid and you're not going to have to fight with very many people to get this trinket. So let's see. You can continue getting little charges of the intellect buff while the large one is active. This means you're constantly stacking the buff. There is no deduction for being a healing spec wearing a DPS trinket. You get the same power as a DPS wearing it. Be sure to bring this up to your raid leader in an annoying fashion. It procs off damaging spells, including dots. For Druid, it procs off Moonfire cast by Grove Guardians. Bless up, dude. You don't even have to press damage spells. It'll just proc itself by you pressing your healing. Actually, no, because on Druid, you're going to save all your charges. You're going to slam all your Grove Guardians at the same time, so you will probably have to keep a Moonfire out outside of your ramps. Numbers-wise, most of the power here comes from the on-use, but the stacking in buff does give you even more flexibility around your usage and slightly encourages using it less often rather than more, since your average stack count will be higher on the passive. If you proc the trinket on cooldown and use it every minute, then the passive is worth about 500 in. The on-use portion is a fixed average instead. If you proc the trinket every 6 seconds, you'll get an imp buff for 9550 for every minute you've charged it. It lasts for quite a long time, for a rather high average around 3200. All right. I like the little editorial. Given the power of this trinket, it might be nice if it's changed to work with healing spells too. That's for sure going to happen. Paladin being fucked twice, can't drop it in Vault and proccing it in raids is AIDS. I mean, you keep Consecration down, right? You're a nice little DPS helper. Surely you're not such a fucking parse whore that you never press Consecrate, right? All right, so beta, I'm told, is up. Any class tuning? No. Frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see really any more class tuning until like Heroic Week. Now, I also wouldn't be surprised if we do see class tuning. But let's see here. All right. So should we slam a wild stock key? Hmm. 15 necrotic wake. Fuck yeah. All right. Now, I don't. Okay, so Haventes is a warrior who has just learned that Chaos Brand and Int buff have been nerfed. He should be ushering in a new era of melee-friendly Mythic Plus metas. And yet, the very first thing he does upon logging back into beta is make a group with a fucking Shadow Priest and a fucking Arcane Mage. "12 Mists." Yeah, we'll sign up for this shit. What do I think about swapping Verdancy for Trank? Nah. "12 has been delisted. No! Oops. Did I not try Root Network and Twin Sprouts? I feel like, just numbers-wise, Resilient feels like it's just like 2 more seconds of uptime versus 2% more damage and healing. I don't know. And this, I think I'd rather have somebody get a bloom on them every time I swiftmend them. Like, that feels like a strong interaction to just be able to put a bloom on somebody when you swiftmend them. In theory, it gives more damage. Well, I would definitely say at this point in time on Druid, I don't care as much about damage, and I'm looking for ways to get more HPS because I'm watching shamans do fucking 1.4 million HPS on boss fights and going, all right, how the fuck am I doing that? Have I tried Self? I have. What are my thoughts on it? It's a good add-on. I just, since I've already configured my LVY the way I want it, I don't think Cell does anything that you can't figure out a way to do in LVY, so I stuck with LVY. But we'll see. Cell definitely had some features I appreciate, and some things that were built into it that I've had to replicate via Weak Aura with LVY. And it would be nice to be able to get all those things just part of the add-on rather than having to have standalone Weak Auras. But there was nothing about Cell where I was like, oh wow, I don't have a way to do this on LVY. Dropping click is a big plus. I mean, I dropped click and I still use LVY. Do I still keep my plater profile public? I use threat plates, not plater. Oh yeah, that reminds me. Is Wago letting me log in yet? Come on, dude. Why are you being weird? Okay. It let me log in when I went to an incognito browser. I wonder if I have something weird cached on there or something. Fuck, I should... Okay, let's log back into live while we wait for... Dude, I wish the fucking button to clear your filter was not so close to the search again button. That is super annoying. What do I think about mouse over versus a PvP style of healing in Mythic Plus? PvP style being having target binds on keys. I think mouse over is just better. Now, I think mouse over healing is more better as you gain more and more targets in your group. So if I was doing arena with like 2 teammates, then having keybinds I think makes more sense because there's fewer things that I might need to target. So just having a couple keys for that is a bit different. But when you have 4 teammates, I think that starts to get a bit awkward. And then obviously you would have to you'd have to abandon that system completely in raid. You'd never be able to keybind 19 other people in raid. All right, let's go do a 12 miss and see what a melee meta feels like. We got a Prot Warrior, we got a Windwalker, we got an Augvoker. It's fucking happening. Let's get a, what do we need in here now to really set this thing off? Like a Enhanced Shaman maybe? A Rogue perhaps? Okay, now that we're logged in, export. My profile. Update. A fucking red paladin, that's not how you do this.
Yeah, what do you want? If you ever need anything.
Okay, now we do Holy Paladin.
Have a good one.
Chunks, thank you for the resub, babe. 51 months, appreciate it, and thank you for your continued inclusion in the J-Da babes. What build? I feel like just a vanilla Wildstalker build. Well, we're trying the Thriving Vegetation shit. Fresh cut, thank you. This is the first time I went and got a haircut without first trimming my beard. So we're gonna see how the haircut with the beard feels. You went back to shaving with a safety razor? Feel like you're gonna murder yourself? Yeah, I would. That's probably accurate.
Five, four, three, two, one.
No. Yep, somebody's in combat. We're gonna pull. Somebody else is in combat too.
Beat.
Okay. And another combat. Holy shit, that hurt. Ah! I need to change my. It's not here. Change it here. I've made my overlap a little too aggressive, I think. Is it reset? I didn't see the text.
5, 4.
Is there something else you need to do with threat plates? I may need to re-upload my threat plates. What about it? Doesn't look the same? It may be using textures that you don't have, if that's what you mean. Yo, too many bleeds, too many bleeds. Shit. I think I use Wind Tools texture. I want to say that if you don't have Wind Tools, it won't look that way. Oh shit. Come on, guys. Please don't let me die to a Spirit Bull here. Oops. Am I running? Ba 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 dum bum.
Come along.
Knock. Knock. Knock.
Can you find your way through the mist? Choose wisely.
Stone and sigil show the way.
Knock.
One does not know.
Knock.
You must fight.
Knock. Knock. Knock.
You did it! Good guess.
Knock. 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 Knock.
Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh fuck. That's all the mechanics. Come on, man. There's other people in the group. They can take some mechanics too. Full, empty. There we go. Come on, dog.
You're almost
What a waste of a Heart of the Wild.
Knock. Knock. Knock.
So it's gotta be circle, right? Yep.
You're almost there.
Oh, shit. Okay. So it's no circle.
You did it. Good guess. We're gonna have so much fun.
Dodge.
You can't dodge this. Will you play with me? Pretty please.
Dodge. Dodge.
You can't dodge this. One of us is not like the other.
Dodge.
You can't dodge this.
Dodge.
Wow, you're
Fixate. Dodge.
You can't dodge this. You found me. Great job.
Dodge. Dodge.
That was fun. I haven't played like that in so long. Let's do it again.
The time for play has passed.
Is new season looking pog?
Urge us forward.
Yeah.
Aw, okay. So normal. Hey, this doesn't look right. It doesn't look right at all.
Tear's side withers as the Gorm feast. Balance must be restored.
Three, two, one.
Oh, you're lagging.
Three, two, one. AOE. Three, two, one. AOE. Three, two, one. AOE. Three, two, one. AOE.
Oh, Jesus.
Three, two, one. AOE. Three, two, one. AOE. Three, two, one.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Beat. 3, 2, 1. AoE.
Five, 4, 3,
Whoops.
1.
3, 2, 1. AoE. Beat.
God damn.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Beat.
Wee.
Too late.
Dude, I've been logging on to each one of my individual characters on live to export their weak auras because it just sort of didn't occur to me that I could look at all my weak auras on one character. Okay, and come on, Mistweaver, where are you? There you are. Okay, all of my weak auras, all my class packs should be updated for launch.
Time is money.
I will need to probably tinker with a few of them once I see everything's hero talents. There will be some stuff that I didn't add to each class spec. I mean, depending on hero talents. So they'll be updated again periodically, but this should at least get you started in War Within. All right, I need to pee real quick. I'll be back. All right, what did Thriving Vegetation do for us on, let's say, like, second? Well, I guess both first and second boss, maybe. All right, Thriving did... Fuck all. Good. And... Fuck all again. Good. Now, I will say I was not using Convoke for healing there. What did it do on this? How about Thriving here? Fuck all. Good. Okay. And, yeah. Consumption is a 10-minute cast now? I think it's... I thought I said it was... Or I thought I saw it was a 10-second cast. Where the... What am I pressing here? God damn, what is the dungeon button? Oh, it's because it's defaulting me to Traveler's Log. Oh, it does say 10 minutes. God damn. I looked this up when we logged in. I saw 10, and I think my brain must have just inserted seconds instead of minutes. So do they have the, what's it called? Data mined shit now? Okay, so let's see. So what do we do? Dawnbreaker count increased to 460, was 430, and Shadow Walkers now give 5 instead of 3. Okay. Powder shots now give 4 count instead of 1. Wave Shaper gives 6 instead of 4. Okay. Dude, Raiders only give 10 count. What a dog shit mob. What a dog shit mob. This enormous fucking headache of a son of a bitch for 10 count. Alright, Monstrosity now gives 20 count. Narzuda gives 20. Marauder gives 10. Gatekeeper gives 15. Damn, they want you pulling that Gatekeeper now. Sheesh. 15 fucking count. Holy moly. Yeah, I think you just, I think maybe you just grab Gatekeepers on the first pull or whatever. That'll be good. Alright, unknown, good. Unknown. Unknown NPC now gives 32 count instead of 28. Alright, Anubikaj. Shadowy decay damage per tick reduced by 32%, but duration increased to 5 seconds, was 4 seconds. Okay. Yeah, this is the kind of shit, if Druid's gonna make it back into the meta, this is the kind of shit that, like, is helpful, is to make fights have less burst fucking, like, for all that Blizzard went into this season being like, we want, fights to be more, like, rot-based damage and not so it's like it's all fucking bursty, man. All of the hard healing checks are burst. Like, I get the fuck out of here with this. Oh yeah, we're gonna do away with burst healing. It's just gonna be like, shut the fuck up. Don't even fucking say it if you're not going to make an attempt to actually tune fights like that. All of the most difficult healing checks this season are just fights that slam your fucking asshole in like 3 seconds. Like, I swear to God, the people that talk about this shit are completely removed from the people that actually design it. Like, they're not even allowed to speak to each other in the building. They keep them in different parts of the campus, and their badges don't work on each other's buildings. They're not allowed to know each other's email addresses. They can't speak to each other in common areas. Like, the people that do the interviews, like, yeah, we're going to change the way we approach dungeons more this expansion, try to make the fights less bursty, more, make health bars be in flux more often. Not this binary, you're either topped off or you're dead stuff. Like, my thumbs are long, are they? Is there a way to measure, like, the thumb relative to the rest of your hand? Is there, like, a ratio that your thumb should have to the... All right, what else? Gossamer Onslaught reduced by 40%. Okay, it's cool. Rhyme Dagger now ignores line of sight. Okay, somebody found a cool cheese spot, I guess. Riptide Shredder Singing Steel initial damage increased by 85% and periodic damage increased by 33%. Who's a Shredder? Which mob is that? What do I think about using Click or Healbot? I used to use Click. I stopped doing it in War Within Beta. I'm trying to stop using it now. But I do use Mouse over Healing. Dude, this is wild. Initial damage reduced by 90% and periodic damage reduced by 93%. Like, at this point, why make it do any damage? Like, if that's what it's going to be, just make it do 20% increased damage for 16 seconds, and then that's like it. Does that mean they'll also nerf mob HP? Admittedly, I don't really think much in Necrotic Wake needs to be tuned, except for third boss. And third boss is mostly one of those issues of it being a totem boss, i.e., it has adds that come out, and they have more and more HP as the keys go higher and higher. And in the case of Necrotic Wake, it's doubly bad because not only do the ads have more HP, but more ads on the fight means that the fight starts bricking itself, because when the ads throw their chain, they can hit each other. And so what'll happen is if you don't kill the first ad before the second ad comes out, then both of the ads will go to throw their chain at the boss at the same time, and they'll be stacked on top of each other because they're both hitting the tank. So both ads will be stacked on top of each other. They'll both go to throw their chain up at the boss to drag him back down. They'll fucking hit each other, cancel it out, and now you can't bring the boss down anymore. It's the dog shittiest design, like, of all time, but Blizzard has never taken any steps to correct that. It's like a terrible fucking fight. The only reason that it's managed to get this far without causing everybody to lose their fucking mind is because the weapons have trivialized it to varying degrees. You've just been able to rely on the weapons to get you through the fight. But if you can't do that anymore, that fight has to be fucking nerfed. It's so fucking bad. All right. A 12 stone vault with people who have... Oh, that's the warrior I just played with. He said he had 12s on all of his other characters. I do kind of want to try Dawnbreaker as Wildstalker. I also have to say, I wasn't really a big fan of Thriving Vegetation. What am I looking to main going into the X-Pack? I don't know. I don't really have anything in my mind that I am intending to main at the moment. I am just going to keep a bunch of characters leveled up and play whichever one of them ends up being the best. Wait, what was this clip? Hold on. What was this clip? Oh, never mind. Hold on. What is this? Oh, that was me losing my shit on preservation yesterday. Yeah, I did kind of melt down yesterday. Mm-hmm.
Need something?
God damn, man, where's the 12? I need to test this shit out. What's going on, step bro? What up, Shoxy? Looking dapper, thank you. We did get a haircut today. 13 Siege of Borealis. Do we want to do a 13 Siege of Borealis? That's not really a HPS check dungeon is the problem. What's the DPS which needs the least external healing this coming season? That's a good question. I feel like some of the melee DPS feel really fucking tanky. Yeah, Frost DK, honestly, like Enhanced Shaman and Ellie Shaman, their fucking self-healing is wild. Now, they have to, like, press buttons to do it, but when they heal themselves, their health bar goes up fast. What about tanks? For needing the least amount of healing? DK, maybe? They have very good self-sustain. Bro, this is very sad right now. Where the fuck are the dungeons? Prop highs feel bad? Yeah. Yeah, there's several tanks that seem like they're in a pretty good spot. But certainly Prop Pally's not among those. They'll have my own key? No, this character's bugged. It can't make its own Mythic Plus keys. Gotta sign up to groups. Is Arcane dead yet? Well, they nerfed its raid buff, and then they nerfed Chaos Brand. So things are certainly not looking up for them. Is Druid back? No. No, we're just testing some stuff. Are there some healers that can blast big damage? There's certainly some that do better than others in that regard. Wildstalker Druid's able to do quite a bit of damage, but it also requires a fair number of globals to do it. Preservation Invoker does really good damage without trying very hard. if you just send your fire breath on CD, you'll do like 350,000 damage, like by itself. Shaman, especially totemic, just dropping totems, keeping acid rain down will do good damage without having to do really anything else. Disc Priest does good damage, but it's definitely not one of the stronger healers in keys. Is Siege going to be the key everyone has for the log off this season? I don't think it's going to be like that, no. I don't know that people are going to enjoy it, but I don't think that it'll necessarily be one of the more difficult keys relative to how some of the War Within dungeons are tuned at the moment. Do I think it'll be possible to play the hero talent you want? Depends somewhat on the class. There's certainly some classes where the hero talent is like a bigger deal. But I think by design, hero talents weren't intended to be... I mean, unless you're playing at the very highest end. If you're sending weekly keys, play whatever the fuck you want. All right, well, unfortunately, I think we've hit the point where I don't know that I can finish another dungeon. I am taking my stepson to a tennis match this afternoon, and we are supposed to leave for that basically as soon as he gets home, which I'm not sure exactly what time that'll be, but I'm pretty sure he gets home around like 2:30 or 2:45, and we basically got to turn right around and head out the door when that happens, so I can't be mid-key. So I think we will call it here for today. And then probably some more beta stuff tomorrow. And then Thursday is the magical day. I don't know what my stream schedule is going to be like on Thursday. I may kind of take the morning off. Because I don't know that I want to stream for... Because I'll be... playing from whenever it launches to whenever I manage to hit 80. So I imagine that'll be at least a 7 or 8 hour session. And I don't know that I want to do like a like an 8 hour stream into another 8 hour stream, but I don't know. Maybe we'll see if we're feeling froggy. Maybe we'll crank out like a 16 hour old school throwback stream. But also a chance that maybe I just kind of hang out Thursday morning and then log on sometime in the afternoon. But we'll see. So anyway, I hope you guys have fun watching. I have fun streaming as usual, primarily a Mythic Plus stream. So if that's something you're interested in or want to learn more about, hit the follow button. I'll do my best to both educate and entertain you, and I will see you tomorrow.